'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the home, one boy would discover he'd been left all alone.
I made my family disappear.
Kevin! Yes! Get that little creep! Don't worry, Mom. I'll get him for you.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Home Alone, sure, the greatest holiday family film ever.
Hello, I'm Katie, and welcome to Retromade, your pop culture rewind. Today, we're heading back to 1990 for Home Alone, I would say, probably one of Hughes' best children's movies. I want to introduce you to returning guests. I'm excited to have Evan and Andy from the Nothing Worthwhile podcast. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, tell us about Nothing Worthwhile and where people can find it.
Well, Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Gru is on our home network it's called Spreaker.com. But you just Google Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Gru, you'll find it. But we talk about pretty much anything that's on our minds, which is usually nothing very worthwhile, but it's worthwhile to us. So, yeah, we try to do one show every week or two. Sometimes life gets in the way, but we got plenty of archival material up there for you. So just go check out Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Gru wherever podcasts are available.
Very nice. I was going to test your knowledge from 1990 before we talk about Home Alone with the Retromade time capsule wheel. So I'm going to spin this on your behalf.
I see a weird one that says, "Can Evan and Andy come out?" What?
So Can Evan and Andy come out to play is the actual.
Okay.
It is just, and that's the toys and electronics. It's just that with two guests, it gets cut off on the little wheel here. So we'll see. We shall see. I'm going to spin here on your behalf.
All right.
We came to Fad Flashback.
Ooh.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about this category?
I mean, I certainly remember it was a time of fads and, obviously all of us much younger, certain fashion styles and things of that nature. So I'm curious to see what the question may be.
This specific fad involved wearing numerous, often brightly colored silicone or rubber bracelets that sometimes cost just a few pennies each. They were frequently traded and worn all the way up the forearm, becoming a staple accessory of the very early 90s youth fashion. What were they called?
Oh, gosh. I have a visual, but...
Garbage Pail Kids.
No, stop it.
Me too. I could see exactly what they look like.
My question is this fashion fad, was this particular to a gender, or was it both male and female across the board? Because I'm feeling, but based on your description, it's leaning a little bit towards the female side, but I'm not sure.
Yes, you are correct. I mean, I'm sure that men or boys did too, but it was generally the girls. And I will say there was also shoes that were similar and had the same name, a certain type of shoes, this like silicone or rubber shoe.
Well, being a very
complete blank.
Yeah, being a very masculine male that would never take part in any feminine fads or stuff. I mean, I have the visual, but I just can't draw a name. But curious to hear what it was called.
They were called jelly bracelets or jellies. Yep. Remember the shoes too?
Yes,
called jellies?
Yes.
Did you?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. No, I don't.
Andrew, the fashion maven that he is.
Rare things, and that was my high school years. So I don't remember a lot.
90. Okay. Well, this I think you will. I have a feeling. Okay. This widespread fad involved staring intently at a seemingly random, colorful, and highly patterned image until a hidden 3D image or object popped out from the background. With the publication and promotion of the first books and posters, it peaked in popularity in the mid-90s, but it came out in the early 90s. What was this called?
Okay, so I don't know per se.
Virtual reality?
Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know these
Yeah,
posters?
because
don't.
it was posters. There was a Jerry Garcia tie that had this, that you stared at a pattern and that you would see something like a visual picture. In virtual reality is like a good guess, but it was like a 3D kind of thing. You stared at it, and I don't know per se the name, but I know that books, posters, even fashion, this was big at the time.
Yeah, you kind of had to stare at it long enough so that your eyes would unfocus. And then there was like this hidden image that popped out at you that was 3D. They were called magic eye images or auto stereograms.
I've heard of the magic eye.
I think there was a scene in Mallrats that had these in them. He's like, I can't see the ship or whatever it was.
No, the only things I was staring at were, well, anyway.
Okay, the last one in this category, and then we'll pick a new category. This specific style of athletic pant, quote unquote athletic pant, became the defining casual legwear of 1990 for teens and young adults. I don't know girls that did this. This was for boys. They were characteristically very baggy around the thighs, often made of nylon and famously worn by MC Hammer.
Oh.
Like jumpsuit pants? Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh.
The New Foundation, Owen Hart and Jim Neidhart wore them. I don't remember what they're called,
I gave away the name of
Zubaz?
the pant in the clue.
Say it again, please.
This was later than Zubaz, but very baggy around the thighs and then got tighter around the ankles, often made of nylon and famously worn by a certain, I guess he was a rapper, quote unquote rapper.
Well, that was MC Hammer.
Yeah,
he was famous back then.
And so his name gives a clue as to what the pants were called.
Hammer
MC
Jam?
nylons? I don't know. Hammer Jam.
They were called hammer pants.
Hammer pants?
Okay.
I feel like we could have guessed that one.
I know. I was really hoping you would. But let's move on.
I have no recollection of that.
Gru, didn't you wear that to
Really?
SummerSlam
Okay.
90?
No, I didn't wear them. I didn't know what they were called. I didn't know they were called anything. I just thought they were ugly looking pants.
They are. They are.
Go with the
ugly
humor.
looking
Go with
pants.
the joke, please.
The next category is commercial countdown. See, a lot of times they're like far too easy. Let me see. Okay, I'll start with an easy one.
Okay.
That was earlier. That was in the 80s. This is 1990. This iconic campaign was in its second year in 1990 and featured famous athletes like Michael Jordan and Bo Jackson, encouraging people to push their limits with the 3-word motto. What was it and what brand?
That would be Nike, and that would be just do it for 5.
Ding, 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 ding. This one it's still pretty easy, but, we'll see. This restaurant chain debuted a catchy jingle in 1990 that became one of the most memorable jingles of the decade and was later famously covered by an R&B boy band in the late 90s. What was the restaurant chain and what was the jingle?
If I had the boy band, that would help.
I want my
MTV?
No.
No.
Are you getting it?
I want my baby back ribs.
Oh.
Yes.
Now, what was that?
Very
Was
good,
that-
Evan.
What was that? Was that Chili's?
the chain?
No. Applebee's? Was it Applebee's?
You were
Bobby
right.
Rubino's? I don't know.
It was Chili's. It was Chili's.
Chili's. Oh, I just went there Friday.
job, Evan.
Oh, great job. Ooh, it was very delicious. I thought originally it was.
Good job, Evan.
I thought originally it was Pizza Hut. Boys to Men. I'll make love to you. No, that was the wrong change. But I do remember. I want my baby back ribs. Yeah, very good. All right.
In a similar vein, I guess, the last one is this slogan was introduced in 1990 by the National Pork Board to reposition their product as a healthier alternative Dear God, to traditional red meat becoming a lasting part of American food culture. Just goes to show you that commercials, like similar to milk, it does a body good. It doesn't, but the ad campaign sure worked. This is similar.
Okay, I'm going to take a bite from Katie. I think I got it, Gru. You want to give it a go?
I'm gonna try. I want to say Diet Coke. They
Oh.
were trying to
No,
push
she's-
Diet Coke for a while. It's like a heart healthy.
Did you not hear
Thing.
that?
I
Did you
like
not
your
hear that?
And I remember there was just a blitz with Elton John and all these. They got the most famous people in the world, but I'm guessing that's not it. But that's my guess.
Well, it's
you not
not
say
because that
pork?
doesn't have anything to do with the pork board.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Wow. Katie asked a pork question, and you gave Diet Coke as the answer. Katie, I'm going to go with, for 10 points, pork, the other white meat.
Very good, Evan.
Wow.
I have been watching
Okay.
episodes of Man vs. Food on YouTube, so thank you.
Let's see if we get a good one, a one that you guys will really excel. Ooh, you might on this one. You probably will. This is Boombox Bangers. So, and this is probably a time where you guys would remember the music pretty well, I imagine.
I think so.
So, these are top 5 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 for the whole year for 1990. The number 1 song is a debut single from a vocal trio made up of the daughters of famous musicians. It became the number 1 song of 1990 on the year-end chart, written after one member was experiencing relationship troubles and a power struggle with her husband.
I think I got it.
All right. I don't know the song, but I'm going to say that the group is Wilson Phillips.
It is?
And I know they have this insanely popular song. I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna just talk over.
I don't know the end of it. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just talk over Andy. So I'm just gonna say that would be Wilson Phillips. Hold on.
Hold on. Very good. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Do I get half a point?
Yep.
No,
yep,
you don't
yep.
get a half.
You guys are playing as a team.
I don't know. All right.
We don't play well
Hey, give
together.
me credit for Wilson Phillips. You know that my tastes stopped in like 1983. So give me credit for Wilson Phillips on that one.
Okay. I think
Katie,
you'll
please
get,
move on.
Okay, the number 2 song was, which I didn't realize this, originally a Christmas song. This power ballad was slightly rewritten and featured prominently in the very popular romantic comedy Pretty Woman, propelling it to the number 2 spot for the year on the Billboard chart. What was the song and who sang it? Pretty Woman.
You know that
I know
one.
it. I just don't remember.
Well, how do you know it if you just don't remember?
Because I know, I just remember.
Can you hum it? Can you sing it?
No, it was the hits. It was the hit song from that movie.
If I give you the band name, do you think you'll get it?
It might help, yeah.
Roxette?
Oh, it must have been love, but it's over now. That was a Christmas song?
It said original. That's why I said I didn't. It said originally a Christmas song, but it was rewritten for the movie, I guess.
That was
I didn't know that first part.
I didn't either.
That was Roxette. Must have been love.
Roxette.
Okay. That was a Christmas song.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
what I said.
Yeah,
I'd
I
never
didn't
heard
know that either. It was
Yeah, does that-
originally, but they rewrote it slightly.
Okay.
All right, number 3. Oh, this is a goodie. This minimalist, emotional song about longing and loss was originally written by Prince. The 1990 cover version by an Irish singer spent 4 weeks at number 1 on the Hot 100 and became a global
please.
sensation, known for its iconic close-up music video.
Oh, please. That's a layup right there. That's Sinead O'Connor. Nothing compares to you for 15, Katie.
It was a layup, except I did not know that it was originally written by Prince. Did you
Yes,
guys?
that's originally a Prince song. Yes.
I knew that, but that was not the song I was going to guess. I was going to guess "Kiss" by Tom Waits, Tom Jones.
No, I loved that song. Did you guys like that? Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor?
Oh, it's a great song. I think it's a really nice song.
All right, number 4. I really like this song. This New Jack Swing hit was the debut single from a group that was a spin-off of another famous R&B boy band, New Edition. This is the spin-off group. The
Got it.
song, which features the famous line, "That girl is blank," which, because that's the name of the song, was a huge hit, peaking at number 3 on the Hot 100 chart.
The height of my
Not a clue.
youth. The height of my youth. Let me just go ahead and dominate this category. For 20 points, Katie, we're going to go with Belle Biv DeVoe and Poison.
Yes. Oh, I loved it. That girl is poison.
Yeah, they had quite the run. I mean, New Edition, then into Belle Biv DeVoe. They were real big for a while. Michael Bivins, I think, was
Agreed.
and Ronnie DeVoe were big music producers for a while. They definitely had a good run there.
Yeah, I was discovering Bob Seger around this time. So
I'm Seeger.
You are listening to Poison.
it was not, and he knows that. He knows that I was not listening.
Maybe
to
he
this
was
stuff.
at this time. He was into Pete Seeger, not Bob Seger. Bob Seger was too young and fresh
there
at
you
that
go.
point.
Last one, you would have to be on Mars to not get. So
Oh,
great.
I have high expectations for you guys.
Oh boy.
Number 5, the dance pop anthem was inspired by a specific underground ballroom dance culture originating in New York City. The accompanying music video, directed by David Fincher, was a massive success and featured a rapid-fire list of Golden Age Hollywood stars.
I got it. Can I go, Evan?
Sure. I'm
May
drawing
I?
like. Yeah, go ahead.
That's Vogue. That's Vogue Madonna.
Yes, very good.
Yeah. Greta Garbo and DiMaggio. Yeah. Okay, I remember.
Yeah,
that.
you guys did very good. So that concludes this portion of the RetroMade time capsule.
All right, Evan wins that one.
You guys play as a team.
We win together
So if he
as
wins,
a
you win.
team. As a team, Andy. This is 2025. We're playing as a team.
All right, fair enough.
So you guys, before we start talking about Home Alone, this epic movie, my season is about John Hughes, obviously. So I was curious if you guys had any thoughts to share about, you first discovering his films, if you're a fan, not. Do you have any thoughts to share about John Hughes generally?
Well, the thing about John Hughes is that most people don't know the depth of what he did. There's a lot of things that he did that people don't even know that he did. For example, Home Alone is actually one of them. He's the writer, but it's not considered like it's not in the same list as The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But he also did the original National Lampoon's Vacation, which is one of the funniest movies ever made. He did Christmas Vacation, which is a classic. So he's got such a deep bench of unsung great movies that he'll never get his due. He died too young, and I feel he'll never get fully his due. The kids today, they don't know who John Hughes is. They've all seen The Breakfast Club, but they don't know John Hughes. But yeah, he rarely swung and missed.
Well, I think you'd be surprised because we all know. So there's the kind of the teen angst, John Hughes, and you're right. So I'm covering all of his movies from the 80s and 90s, whether he directed or not. So in this case, he didn't direct, but he wrote. But there were probably 6 or 8 that he did both, Breakfast Club being one of them. But then later, we talk about on the season, did he lose some inspiration? Because he does a bunch of kid fare later that seems to be kind of rinsing and repeating. So Dennis the Menace, Beethoven, Flubber, those are all John Hughes movies.
They all made bank. That's the thing. Those are all big hits. As they might not appeal to us, but those all made a bunch of cash that spawned a bunch of sequels.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing maybe in his later years he was doing it as a job. Maybe his passion was gone, but he was still writing about youth, about kids, and he was probably making a bloody fortune because the movies were huge hits. So that makes sense to me.
Okay. What about you, Evan?
I just think when you look back on an artist or, whether it's music, entertainer, Andy stated everything really well, but I think for a time he captured sort of the cultural zeitgeist of the country. His movies were tremendously popular. for the most part, when I think of John Hughes, kid fare that's family friendly and adult friendly, a la Home Alone. Like you could be an adult and watch the movie and get some level of enjoyment. And for a brief time, he was like the it guy. His movies were tremendously popular, and people may just have gone to the theater just to see because it was a John Hughes movie. You kind of knew what you were getting. So, and this being one of them.
Great point. Well, without further ado, shall we get into Home Alone from 1990?
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
So the release date was November 16th, 1990. PG. It has
Yes.
a 7.7 on IMDb, one of the higher ratings for John Hughes movies. And so as I was discussing, John Hughes is our writer here, obviously, but Chris Columbus is our director. Do you guys know other Chris Columbus movies?
I know a couple. He was the Goonies, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. He wrote the Goonies. Richard Donner directed the Goonies. Columbus did, oh God, did 9 months,
Yes.
right? With
Yes.
Hugh Grant. I think some of the Harry Potters.
Yeah, a couple
Right?
of yep. Stepmom,
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yeah, he's,
Doubtfire.
Yeah, and I think he did Home Alone 2.
He
I think he stopped there.
Yep.
Adventures in Babysitting, I think, was his big opener. Yeah.
It definitely was. And
he discovered America, from what I understand.
yeah, relative perhaps. There's a fairly new movie on Netflix that he also directed. It's called The Thursday Murder Club, and it's with Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, and Ben Kingsley. Did you guys see that one?
Not familiar, but sounds interesting.
Yeah, sounds.
That's quite a cast, and I didn't realize that Chris Columbus also directed that. But yes, the success of Home Alone.
I just have a quick question. Was Columbus and John Hughes, did they work together quite a bit? I mean, I feel like, or was this the only, I feel like maybe Columbus was a big kind of it name too for a while.
For a while, yeah. So Hughes does have a lot of collaborators that he works with consistently. Home Alone and Home Alone 2 are the only where they teamed up.
Okay.
But yeah, so they were massively successful, which I think helped Columbus go on to do movies like Mrs. Doubtfire and those Harry Potter movies.
Doubtfire.
Yeah. I did read that his biggest fear as a kid was burglars. And so that's part of why he wanted to do this movie.
This certainly exercises that demon.
It certainly does. And I thought, so Andy, you bringing up National Lampoons, obviously Chevy Chase is in those, and John Hughes wrote all of those. I guess Columbus was actually supposed to direct Christmas Vacation, or he had actually signed on to do so. But he said that after meeting Chevy Chase, it became clear that the two of them would not get along. And even though he desperately needed a job at the time, he quit the project. And he was worried that that would end his career. But then Hughes brought him in to direct this movie, earning like tons more money than Christmas Vacation and on a smaller budget.
That's right in the playbook. I mean, Chevy Chase doesn't have the greatest reputation as far as being somebody who people work with, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But to walk away against that high profile a gig, that took guts.
Yeah.
Hughes must have said, "Listen, I get it. Step aside. We'll bring in some hack, and I'll get you on the back end." Must have been something like that. Otherwise, I don't see him walking away from that.
There were several instances of that where like kind of directors swapped on Hughes movies. That's the commonality with Hughes because he has his people. And so, yes, Hughes did write this, but Chris Columbus did an uncredited rewrite adding the character of Old Man Marley. That was not originally part of the movie. What do you guys think about that?
When I rewatched this movie, it reminded me of how significant a sub storyline that was, and it's a real big part of the movie, real satisfying, emotional part of the movie. So, just hearing that, I would say that was a real smart addition to the movie. It really rounds out sort of Kevin's emotional kind of piece there.
Yeah, Evan's right, and it shows that Columbus has an eye for threads. Like looking for threads that weave throughout the movie that can connect dots here and there. He looks for holes and things, so that's where his talent seems to be.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And
Would
that's
you-
a good, like Evan said, it became one part of the movie that everybody remembers all the time.
Rewatching it, I forgot how significant a piece that storyline is. Really refreshed my memory with that. I was kind of hearing that, and at the end, the payoff at the end, it's a real emotional kind of piece for this movie.
Yeah, that church scene sort of brings everything together and sets up the entire third act. Without it doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
I agree. It's completely necessary. And the man who plays him is Robert's plural Blossom.
Blossom.
That's interesting, isn't it? So he plays the old man neighbor. Do you guys feel like any other Christmas movie characters from Old Man Marley? Maybe where
No,
Columbus.
Jacob Marley is one of the ghosts in the Christmas Carol, the Scrooge story. The guy looks like an old English kind of miser kind of guy. So that there's connections there, absolutely.
Yeah, not by accident. Yes, it was definitely a nod to Scrooge's dead partner in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And I do want to touch on some of the other actors in this, but before doing so, we have to call out the John Williams score. And he also did Home Alone 2, which I've already covered on Retromade. But John Williams is probably one of the most award-winning composers of all time. And he actually stepped in when the original composer backed out. So it was kind of a happy accident for Home Alone to get this. Chris Columbus jokingly suggested Williams. He didn't think he'd ever get him. And so an early cut of the movie, he was enchanted and happily stepped in after seeing that. And the score of the song is called Somewhere in My Memory, which he was nominated for an Oscar for this movie.
I think John Williams is the most award. I can't think of anybody else, but I wonder who it was who he replaced.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. And I'm trying to think of who Chris Columbus, because a lot of these directors like to work with the same
They have the
people.
same guys.
With Spielberg always uses Williams. I'm trying to think of who might have replaced. It must have been another high profile guy.
Could have been.
I'm just trying to think.
Ira Newborn is a common collaborator with Hughes. There's a few others, but yeah, John Williams, a big get, and won some awards for this movie as well.
Yeah, that song was a hit. Yeah, that was a hit.
So we have obviously Macaulay Culkin, which I think he was like 9 or 10, but he's playing an 8-year-old, right? Kevin
Yes.
was like 8.
I think so.
in this?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they specifically
and
reference
then-
his age.
So it's just kind of wild now, as I don't have children, but I don't know any 8-year-olds that are that resourceful in my life. I don't know. Things are different then, I suppose.
Well, the thing about this movie to me is, and I'm going a little deep here. I resented this movie when it first came out. So I was sitting in the theater like, no, this would never happen. This is unrealistic. This is bullshit. I hate it. But the only reason was because I was resentful because obviously, as you probably know, this opened directly opposite Rocky V and blew it away. So I was pissed off and insanely jealous. So I did not see this through clear eyes when I first saw it. So I was quick to point out all those things. Oh, this is so unrealistic. This would never happen. It's so stupid. Not realizing that this was a live action cartoon.
And so you've grown to love it, I assume?
Oh, it's hilarious. It's great. It's hysterical.
I was a
Yes.
kid. It was perfect for me because as an adult, I don't love kid-centric movies where the kid is the main character. But this is an exception to the rule. Macaulay Culkin is so good in this. Then we get Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern as Marv and Harry. Another, Joe Pesci, getting him, I guess he was one of Chris Columbus's heroes. And 1,000 other people turned it down, including Robert De Niro, which he and Pesci actually were in 6 or 8 movies together. But tons of other actors considered for this particular role. But what do you think about Joe Pesci as Harry?
Certainly against type, and he does a great job. If I could just go back to one of the prior point about Macaulay Culkin, Yeah, it's certainly unreal. Like, it's not believable an 8-year-old is going to be left at home, but they are able to capture like the frenetic pace of vacation day, and you're running behind. You got to get to the airport. But what I loved about Macaulay Culkin is, do you remember the joy of being home when your parents were not home? As a young kid, it was like mysterious. I remember like one of the first times I got to stay home on a sick day and my parents were gone, and I couldn't wait to watch Good Morning America and David Hartman. It was like forbidden fruit all this time, and just walk around my house when nobody was there. Like I get it, because it is completely ridiculous, but he captures that complete joy after he gets over that initial, oh my God, where's mom? Where's dad? And then it's like the house is a playground, and the furnace is scary, and the washing machine's fun. And I could definitely relate to that. Like I felt that same way, like the first couple of times I stayed home and my parents were gone.
Okay, definitely one of the best like montages of the movie, like eating the junk and watching the stuff he's like doing, all the things you're not allowed to do, jumping on the bed, getting into his brother's stuff. It was, as a kid, it's very relatable stuff.
It kind of echoes that first part of Ferris Bueller, staying home from school, tricking your parents and going through all that. So Hughes kind of connects that a little bit.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. And then Marv. So Harry and Marv, I mean, I'm not even going to state a description of this movie because I'm pretty sure everyone on planet Earth has seen Home Alone. But Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern playing Harry and Marv, they're the robbers, obviously. Daniel Stern, I don't know. I don't really know if I know him from a ton of other things, but he's perfect for this role. And another John Hughes collaborator, Christopher Lloyd, who was in Dennis the Menace, they wanted him for this, but he turned it down.
That's a funny idea.
A Christopher Lloyd, Marv.
Yeah, I feel like Daniel Stern,
he was
like in a million things, but I'm hard to pull up one in my brain right now. But like, he was in a ton.
I've got a couple. He was in, I think, coming off City Slickers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was a huge hit. He was in Breaking Away. That was his big break back in the early 80s. Then he kind of disappeared for a while, but then City Slickers kind of brought, I don't know what came first, this or City Slickers. I want to say City Slickers, but I'm not 100% sure. But this 1-2 punch with that sort of made him like recognizable to all these people. So then he did another City Slickers. He did Home Alone 2. He directed a couple of movies, and he became sort of a household name. But I would say this is the one that did that for him. But he was a very well known amongst the community
director.
I know I sound like a know-it-all, but I knew who he was when he was in this movie.
Okay,
I'm like that's the guy from this.
Okay.
While he was sitting there being all pissed off because it was against Rocky V, he was like, "Damn it, Rocky V! Hey, I know that guy. Stern came on the screen and he was like, "Oh, I know that guy."
Yeah.
Michael Richards was also considered.
Wow.
And Tim Robbins, which they just tall and lanky, I guess. The Tim Robbins would have been odd, I guess. I'm glad it's Daniel Stern.
Great pairing.
I agree with you on that.
Just great pairing, and it's just great slapstick fodder. They're just great violent fodder.
Well, Michael Richards would have probably Kramered it. He would have done the Michael Richards version of that character, which I guess is what they would have been paying for. But Daniel Stern stepped out of his comfort zone and created and just basically probably stuck to the script and did what they wanted him to do and created that character. So I'd say it was serendipitous that because Richards was red hot at the time because of Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm. Serendipitous, that's a good way of putting it. And I think these two, their chemistry is really great. Pesci and Stern, they have a good chemistry together. And I bought them as characters. I didn't see Joe Pesci, even though he's so famous and in so many things. I saw Harry and Marv. And they seem to be, like a lot of movies like this that kind of tried to replicate the success of Home Alone and failed. I feel like they have these bumbling idiot bandits that are really one-dimensional. And I think Home Alone did them justice. They kind of had a backstory. They had their little quirks, and I guess I very much appreciated that.
Well, Evan and I talk about this a lot when we go into movies on our thing. Like, you got to get pros. You got to get people who are good, who are going to do what needs to be done. And at that point in their careers, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern were pros. Look at the casting throughout. You got Catherine O'Hara. You got John Hurd. Everybody's a pro. Everybody there is somebody who has worked, has a resume that goes deep, and all of that together creates this piece of work. So that's an example of that. And you see those guys who are the basically replacement guys in the sequel. I've never seen any of the sequels, but I've seen enough commercials for them to know that they're just, they're carbon copies of what came before.
Exactly.
And if they tried a little harder and went for some pros and spent a little money, maybe those movies would do a little better, or maybe people would like them a little more. So it definitely adds to it completely.
I love Catherine O'Hara. I just love her and anything she does. And she plays the straight woman here. Like, she's not over the top like Moira on Schitt's Creek. Think of her in like Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, a lot of those Christopher Guest movies. Any other thoughts on Catherine O'Hara generally?
I mean, she's just a wonderful comedic actress, and she can play it over the top. But yeah, here she's playing the straight woman. I get almost even similar, like Steve Martin in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I remember that for me, I was like, wow, it's the first time I saw Steve play it straight. And then he kind of went that way for the next series of roles. But same vibe here, playing maybe a little bit against her type, but she does a wonderful job. And ultimately, Gru talked about the threads of the movie is, love of family, but especially the love of a mother and son. I think that's really highlighted here in this story. And certainly at the end, you really get that wallop, with her and Macaulay Culkin. That does a great job.
And you got to remember, Catherine O'Hara at that time, she, out of all of them, probably had the longest career. She was coming out of SCTV, the Saturday Night Live era. She was well known amongst the comedy community. So if you think about it, if she's like reading the script, she's probably like, why am I getting this part? Like,
your mom.
Yeah. She's like, I'm all right. I'm just the mom now. But she turned it into, a gold mine. So that's because she's a pro and she was good. She's a star for a reason.
She is. And John Candy also from SCTV, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Catherine O'Hara playing Kate, Kevin's mom, there is a wildly long list of other, basically any famous woman approximately her age in Hollywood was reportedly.
Oh, I want to hear this.
But,
I want to hear this.
Well,
I mean, do you have names? Do you have names?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Sigourney Weaver, Diane Keaton, Holly Hunter, Jodie Foster, Glenn Close, Gina Davis, Jamie Lee Curtis, Stockard Channing, Carrie Fisher, Madonna, Daryl Hannah, Kelly McGillis, Leah Thompson, Linda Hamilton. I mean, it goes on and on. There's literally like 50 people. There was one, though, that I think they maybe had offered it to her and she turned it down because she was busy working on the sequel of Look Who's Talking.
Kirstie Alley.
Well, can you see her in this? I can picture her screaming, Kevin. I can
see just about everybody on your list. I can see doing this part in their own way. There are a couple. I don't know if Madonna would have sold it at that time, but Sigourney Weaver, absolutely. Diane Keaton, definitely. They would have done it completely differently, but they would have done it in, the Glenn Close, absolutely. I feel like those, because pros bring it. Mm-hmm. But they, when it's very easy to look at it from that perspective, because it's like, oh yeah, it wouldn't have worked because Catherine O'Hara was so perfect. Catherine O'Hara did what she did with it and made it, and now it's part of history. So it is what it is. So it's difficult to look at it from the other perspective, but I feel like they would have been just as good in many different ways.
That's fair. I think I concur. Similarly with John Hurd, again, like wild long list of basically any who's who in Hollywood around that age. One that really stood out that he was offered it but turned it down was Al Pacino due to scheduling conflicts. That's one I really don't see. I guess I've never really seen him play just kind of a regular dad.
I think here, if you gave me a list, I would see the Hurd character Gru. I would definitely put more credence to, because I think he's more of a minimal role here. I mean, I think Catherine O'Hara is really the major focal point parent-wise. Hurd really, I mean, it's not small, but it's minimal impact on the overall plot. He sees Kevin, he's like, "Oh, I love you, kid. Sorry." The emotional center was always the mother and the son. So if you gave me names there and said these were perhaps Pacino, I mean, sure, over the top or whatever you might have done with it, but I could give a little more credence to, because I didn't think it was such a major focal point upon rewatching this movie. It's definitely, to me, it was the mom and the son.
100%. And John Hurd just kind of has that like regular dad
Everyman,
look about
yeah.
him and
Yeah.
an aura. Yeah. He's one of those people too that I can't really tell you what he's been in, but he's really got a familiar face.
Go ahead,
We talked
Andrew.
about
Give
this
us
actually
give us the
Yeah,
Herd. Yeah, I know you know.
Well,
I know. He's like, well,
he's-
let me tell you right now, Katie. Here we go.
He's the main antagonist. He's pretty much the main antagonist in the movie Big.
Big, yes, big,
Okay.
of course, big.
And he's your resident a-hole. Like, he usually plays kind of a jerk. This is a rare kind of like warm character for him. But Evan said everything I was going to say. It's an underwritten role. But he's perfect for it because he's the kind of guy who blends into a movie.
Yeah.
Like, he can show up for a scene and be like, that's that guy, and he sells it, and then he disappears. So this is kind of a role that's perfect for him. You don't want the father to carry too much weight because of what Evan said. The focus is on the relationship between Kevin and his mother. So it's really good casting. And yeah, Hurd's like John Hurd. He was on The Sopranos for a while. But again, an underwritten kind of background role. Nothing that is going to be. He's never the top part of any movie that he's been in. And a lot of guys made great careers that way.
I would argue that's the better way to go for somebody who doesn't want like big spotlight or whatnot. But yeah, he so much so that I had forgotten. Sopranos is one of my favorite shows, but I had forgotten that he was in it. He was nominated for an Emmy for his guest role in The Sopranos.
Yeah, he's just a guy, like a J.T. Walsh kind of guy. Guy's always good in everything, no matter what.
Yes.
What's his name?
JT Walsh was iconic for his time.
I'm just saying in a similar vein, like that guy, the guy who can step up to the plate, pinch hit, and knock it out of the park, no matter what.
So Devin Rattray plays Buzz, Kevin's older brother, and we talked about him on the Dennis the Menace episode because he plays the babysitter's boyfriend in that. And I wanted to talk about him a little bit, but first I wanted to mention that Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix were both considered for this role. That would have been wildly different, I feel like. Maybe not Keanu Reeves, but River Phoenix anyway. But Devin, the guy who did play Buzz, 31 years after the movie's release, he was arrested in December.
Don't say.
In December of 2021, he allegedly tried to strangle his girlfriend in a hotel room and then also came under investigation for allegations of rape a few years later. So that's probably why he doesn't have a career anymore, I would guess.
Well, I was going to say, I'd never seen him in anything else, but he always seems to get girls. Buzz is like, he's just this sloth looking guy, not to be mean, but he's just like, and he plays just an arrogant jerk. Yet every movie he's in, he's getting girls. Well, obviously, he didn't know quite how to handle them.
Yeah, not consensually, apparently.
But he is good at what the character is. But if they were going to do Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, I would have wanted them to turn those guys into twins. I'd want to see them both.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because they did a couple movies together.
They did.
They had a couple things going on. One was pretty funny. But that's where I would have gone with that. But that would have sucked energy away from the main thing.
There's a lot of people. We talked about it in the sequel too. There's just each brother. So Uncle Frank and Peter is John Hurd. And then they have a third brother. They all have like a crap ton of kids. There's like far too many kids running around. And my guest on that episode brought up a really good point. And that's partially to add to the chaos, to make it more believable that a child could be forgotten or lost at the airport.
Yep.
And it allows us to put all of those kids into one sort of emotional area for us so we can focus on Kevin, so it's like nobody here is super memorable so that they're, like I said, taking our attention away. Mm-hmm. They serve the movie perfectly. Same in the second. Agreed.
Yes. So speaking of Uncle Frank, he's played by Jerry Bauman, and he does have one of those familiar faces, but he's not super well known. The only movie that in researching, he was in The Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox from the 80s. You guys remember that movie?
I do.
I remember it. I don't remember him from that, but I remember the movie. Yeah, that was a hit.
Yeah.
was a big hit.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox had it going on in the 80s. Now, I did read that there's a certain actor in Hollywood that this role was actually written for, not played by, and I think it tracks.
Wait, which role? Which role?
Uncle Frank. So he's
okay.
Right. He's cantankerous. He's cheap. He's cruel. He's rude. He's selfish. Any actor, is anybody coming to mind when John Hughes wrote this role?
Chevy Chase.
Good guess.
Good guess.
Murray.
Also good guess. Also, think more balding, like similar to Frank. Like they have a similar kind of look, like balding.
Don Rickles.
At the time, Jason Alexander.
That's a really good guess.
Really good guess.
Don Rickles is a great guess.
I
He's
just threw
too
that
old,
out
isn't
there
he?
when he said ball.
Kind of
probably.
a smarmy guy. Like he comes across really like, he's more blonde though.
Craig
Bill-
T. Nelson.
No.
Oh, good guess.
All right.
That's a good guess.
Your guesses are really good though.
I'm out of guesses.
Give
then.
up. Kelsey
Yeah.
Grammer.
Ooh.
Could have done it. Actually, that one I could see. That one I could see.
I can totally see that. Like
Smarmy for
more
sure.
Tight
Yeah.
and smarmy. Yeah, I like that. But again, this guy does the perfect job.
Perfect. He does.
Because when he's on screen, he's great. But when he's off screen, we don't miss him because he doesn't distract enough. So it's like everything's firing right.
Agreed.
for that.
Imagine Kelsey Grammer. We got to go to the airport. Smarmy.
Well, that's the thing. With established names, these established stars, they think that they're being hired because they're supposed to make it into a movie centered around them. They don't know this whole thing, so they think, okay, Kelsey Grammer says they're hiring me. They want Fraser Crane. So that's why they just did a very good job with the casting.
They really did. There's a couple of others that I wanted to round the cast out with. So Kieran Culkin plays Fuller. Kieran in real life is the younger brother of Macaulay. And this was actually his film debut. But in the movie, he plays the cousin, his cousin. So.
Was Kieran?
that was
Kieran? Was he the? Or was that Roar? One of the Culkin brothers was real big in Succession. Was that Kieran or?
That's Kieran.
Kieran, yeah. He
That's
turned
Kieran.
out to have quite the little career as well. You
He
certainly
certainly
see the
did.
young boys
the
have.
father of the brides, right?
They definitely got the chops for sure.
Well, the fact that he was in the movie was probably Culkin's father. He was
Yes.
running the show. From what I understand, he was running the show at the time.
Yeah, it
But-
kind of doesn't sound great, but yeah.
But Kieran wasn't in the father of the brides, or was that Rory?
I don't
He
know.
was the little brother. He was one of the Culkins, not Macaulay, but one of the Culkins was the little brother in the father of the
Okay.
bride with Steve Martin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would track. So we talked about John Candy in this. He plays Gus Polinski, the Polka King of the Midwest.
Love it.
And his role was completely he just ad-libbed the whole thing. Just improvise. And it was partly, so I also recently covered Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with Steve Martin and John Candy. And he partly inspired this Gus character on his character in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, also written by Hughes. But his filming was one day, one very long day. He did all of his scenes. And it was a favor to John Hughes. So he was just paid scale. And we talk a little bit about in the second one. So John Candy, everyone loves him. So it's odd that he would be upset at someone, but I think he felt slighted that because he was paid scale for this and then the movie went on to do so well, he and Hughes there was a rift now because I think John Candy felt like he maybe should have gotten paid a little more after the fact and didn't. Because
I never heard that, but that's very common. But also, I'd like to know, because I think they did work again together after this. They think they did a movie called Only the Lonely. That was a Hughes. I don't think he directed it, but he wrote it. So I think they did continue working together at some level. But I'd never heard that they had a falling out. Because and then he did The Great Outdoors, right? Was The Great
that was
Outdoors
before.
after?
That was before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
All
they
right.
had worked together a lot before.
So maybe only the ending was before. I don't remember, but Hughes found the Uncle Buck character and applied it to all these movies, and that's the one that Candy is now like most, in my opinion, is most famous for.
Him and Culkin again.
His scenes in this are just, they bring the whole movie home. I can't imagine the movie without it.
I know. And he just ad-libbed all of that with the Polka King. I guess I'm not super familiar with SCTV, but there's a reference to a skit. Like this is in reference to a skit from 1976, I guess, called the Schmeng Brothers.
Yes. May I?
Yes.
Yes. These were the Schmengi brothers. They were these, they were from, I forgot the country they were from. It was him and Eugene Levy.
Yes.
They would play these German type accordion, and Candy would play the clarinet.
Okay.
And they were just these like Czechoslovakian lounge lizards. Where that's from, the Schmorgy brothers.
Nice. Yeah. And then this character is not a big character in the movie, but I bring him up because of who I know him from. So there is a family crisis officer who takes a call from Kate. Officer Balzac, I guess, is who he's listed as. He's like, you want me to go to your house just to check on your kid? She's like, yes. It's actually kind of a funny scene in the police department. They're unserious about whatever's going on. They're like wrapping gifts and eating donuts, and the bureaucracy is getting in the way of Kate getting help. Well, he is played by Larry Hankin. He was also in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. But does he look familiar? Did he look familiar to either of you from?
He was Doobie. He was the cab driver from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
He was?
He was also in another movie with John Candy called Armed and Dangerous.
Yes, he was.
He was in that. He's like that guy. He played the fake Kramer in Seinfeld when they were doing the TV series based on Seinfeld. So yeah, he's a very familiar face for good reason. I mean, he's such a unique looking guy.
Did you guys?
Go ahead.
Did you watch the show Friends?
A little bit.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Did you, Evan?
No.
My thing with Friends, I don't know if you feel this way, Gru. It's New York. I felt like I grew up with all those doofuses. I had no interest really. I watched a little bit. When I gave it a chance, it gave me a mild chuckle, but I was never big on the Friends train.
Yeah, me neither. The couple episodes I've seen are funny, but it's like you could jump into anything, any episode anywhere, and if you've seen one, you've seen them all. That's the vibe I get. I know that I'm probably crazy, but it's just one I've never warmed up to. It doesn't mean I won't. It doesn't mean I won't. But,
I will. It is one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I especially when you kind of get to know the characters. I do think it's really funny, but Larry Hankin plays the upstairs neighbor that is annoyed by the girls downstairs, Mr. Heckles. So that's who I immediately was like, oh my God, it's Mr. Heckles.
Yeah, he's a great character actor with great timing. He's a good go-to guy. And he's still out there. I still see him every now and then.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, budget-wise, this was made on an $18 million budget. And it made, did you guys see how much it made? It was like in the Guinness Book of World Records at the time for how much money it made.
Well, I know it. I know it became the highest-grossing comedy of all time, knocking out Ghostbusters, which was another reason why I didn't like it.
Or Beverly Hills Cop, wasn't
it?
Yeah. Anyway,
I thought it was Ghostbusters, but I think it made like 300 or 400 million, somewhere around there, in the United States alone. It was huge. Oh my God, I'd never seen a movie as big as that.
I feel like it cleared maybe close to 500 mil. I mean, I think the numbers were, I feel like 460, 470 is what I saw, but I don't, I may be wrong.
477.
Wow.
Yeah, and it held that spot until Deadpool, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, Ghostbusters.
And that's in $1990 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. That's a great point. Yeah. So it was a runaway success.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth $18 billion today.
And I remember it. Nobody expected it to be a hit. I remember seeing the trailer, and it looked so stupid, and people sitting there like laughing. Oh my God, such a kiddie, stupid movie! And then it just exploded.
Well, it's got the great combination of there's something in it for everyone. It's funny, it's heartfelt. It's a holiday, Christmas, like everyone. We kind of we yearn for that kind of a movie at this time of year. But I had forgotten. There were several things that I noticed watching it for this specifically because I was, watching it with a much more careful eye than I had previously. And the very beginning, when we see Kate is on the phone with maybe her sister, so she's on the phone with somebody. So they're packing, the house is chaos, and they're having just like mundane but very relatable conversations. Also, we learn then that the McCallisters have a dog. She's mentioning, oh, yeah, we just took the dog to the kennel. So that kind of explains why they have a dog door, but we never see the dog.
Okay.
Peter,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I hadn't either until this time. She's talking to someone on the phone. They're packing, and Peter's like, do we have a voltage adapter? Blah, blah, blah. And so there's all this chaos happening, and Kevin is coming in being all whiny and like just adding to the chaos. So that's the opening scene that I'd really forgotten about.
When you're writing, it's all in the details. You got to, every word needs to count. You're not just sitting there talking. She's got to be talking about something. But that's an interesting pickup because I do remember that doggy door, and now I'm thinking about, wait a minute, they didn't have a dog. Well, evidently they did.
Yeah, she mentioned taking the dog to the kennel.
I did not pick that up because you're paying attention to all the chaos, not what she's telling her neighbor. Mm-hmm. So that's a very interesting pickup there. I didn't really. I was looking for stuff like that, and I really didn't. I've seen it so many times. I really didn't find much detail that I hadn't, stumbled upon already.
I can even find detail watching Rocky over again, and I've seen that a bazillion times, and I'll still find things. So, what did you guys think of didn't you think that the foreshadowing was extremely heavy? Were you okay with that in this instance? Kevin's like, I wish my family didn't exist. And she's like, well, you might get what you wish for. Wouldn't it be sad, Kevin? If you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have a family? Like, I guess I was kind of okay with it, but it really does hit you over the head with it.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with it. And again, I think the movie, tough to believe, but yet again, I stick by what everybody said, the way that they're able to articulate the chaos before a big family vacation. He hadn't packed yet. Everything's a rush. Driver comes, the kids are up, they're messing with the driver. He's like, sit down, kid. They do that well. So if you pause believability for a brief moment, you could kind of buy into a kid being left home. They send them to the upstairs, all that setup leading to, hey, this kid has a good chance of being left back.
All these movies do that, though. They all project, Parent Trap. I wish I could see the Freaky Friday. I wish I could change for just one day, and then a half an hour later, that something happened. They all do the thing that's going to cause the thing to happen. So I don't have a problem with that at all. It's projection is the whole point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, that's fine.
So there's a miscount. The neighbor kid is over, which causes the miscount when the older cousin is like counting heads, and she's like, yep, everybody's accounted for. The neighbor kid, his name is Mitch in this, and this was one of the things I noticed this time. Did you guys recognize him from anything else?
I did.
What?
I did. Two things. Number one, he was in the movie The Babe with John Goodman as Babe Ruth. But even more so, he was the littlest kid in Overboard.
Joey in Overboard.
Yeah, the Pee Wee Herman kid.
He was.
Overboard. Yeah.
Hey, you guys, I covered Overboard last season. It's one of my favorites.
I love Overboard.
I do too.
I love Overboard. But
that's something that I didn't, just until I watched this movie last night, and I was like, oh my God, I think that's the same kid. And it was.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I always get kind of stressed with this kind of a scenario, but they leave their house with 45 minutes to not the boarding time, but the plane leaves in 45 minutes.
To the busiest airport in the country, O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. No way in hell.
I know this was pre 9/11, but they still have to check all their bags. There's a crap ton of them. They
are going first class.
Only the parents.
No, only the parents. No. Only the parents.
They could still get them through if they were.
If you were a parent, would you sit in first class while your kids sit in coach? I couldn't do that.
Hell yes.
Oh, screw you.
I would too. I think that's why we don't have kids, Andy.
I don't have kids either, but I wouldn't.
I'm like,
I wouldn't leave my kids in another section on the plane. No.
Parenting was.
I mean, I
different
get, and, you know,
back in the
you're
day. Like
well,
you're
Mr.
right. I did
Responsibility.
actually take note of that because some of the kids were actually like small children, and there's a bunch of them. They're just back there. The parents don't seem concerned at all
Well,
when they're in those
here's
classes
the
about
thing.
what's
It's a
happening
large
with the kids
group.
and coach.
When you have a large group of kids, they always keep themselves busy. So that's the plus size, right? So, you know, I'm a stepdad. I've come to understand that sometimes it's easier to have 2 or 3 over than just one, because one is you know, hey, will you come play with me? Blah, blah, blah. You have 2 or 3, they keep themselves busy. You know, you don't have to watch Home Alone. You can watch wrestling and not be bothered, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I don't know if I would feel comfortable as an adult. Listen, we've chaperoned. We're in education. We're with camps. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable not with being within eyesight of my precious cargo. I'll leave it at that.
For a 9-hour flight, they're going to Paris. It's not like an hour away too. So.
And if they're missing, then you have a great setup. Then if they're missing, you have a great setup for the next Liam Neeson movie. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Wait, they went to Paris in this one. Where'd they go in the second one?
Well,
New York.
They were, the family was going to Florida.
Well, he went to New York.
Right.
All right, I got confused there for a second.
Right,
okay.
right.
He gets on the wrong plane. I assume you guys are Die Hard fans, like the movie from Die Hard. It is said that this is like a kid's version of Die Hard. Do you agree with that?
I'll take that.
It's about Die Hard 2, the perennial Christmas movie, comparison. But I mean, I feel like, and he's a big movie guy, but I feel like Home Alone presents a complete slapsticky, it's cartoon violence. So I don't see it. I can see perhaps the comparison, but it doesn't hit me. No.
I will say this: if this is a Christmas movie, then Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Agreed.
Because they're both about basically the same thing. So on that front, I think they're similar.
If Kevin at the end of the movie, I'm just saying, if Kevin at the end of the movie screamed, "Holly!" and then went up and tongue kissed her, then yes, I would perhaps give the comparison. But since we don't get that, it's just his mom, and they give a nice, wholesome, hug and a peck, then we'll leave it at that.
There's some lessons learned.
It's definitely violent, though.
Slapstick, though.
These guys take some bumps.
They really do.
Okay.
So much so, I guess Hughes was like, he really wanted it to be like violent, and he's like, pain is funny. And while they were shooting, a lot of times people weren't laughing after the take because they were so concerned that the stunt people were actually injured for real.
Well, the reason that it worked, in my opinion, because at that point in the movie, we already know our belief is already suspended to the point where it needs to be to accept it. We've already accepted that this situation is completely ridiculous. All he had to do was call 911 at one. There's so many things he could have done, but we don't care because we're having too much fun. And the violence of Harry and Marv and what they go through is all part of that. Mm-hmm. So it's, and plus they show it in the trailer, and it's funny in the trailer.
Him calling 911, I did realize he does at some point finally, like on the, he could have
my
called
name's Murphy. At the end, right? Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin on somewhat recently, somebody's podcast had said that was a big plot hole for him. He was like, why didn't this kid just call 911? And I feel really stupid because that had never occurred to me ever watching this movie until I read that. And then I was
it's
like, 1990. He eventually does.
It's 1990. It was like the Wild West with child care. We didn't become quite as. It's a slight joke, guys, but we're not quite as evolved in 2025. So perhaps I know this is called the crisis team, but like
that's like Hughes and Columbus saying if the audience is worried about that 30 minutes into the movie, we're screwed.
Yeah.
so I think they were okay.
Do we ever see Kevin's room? He never is in his own room, is he?
I don't recall.
Yeah,
I don't recall any. He's in Buzz's room when he's in his parents' room. I never see him going in his. Good point.
Yeah. Now, what did you guys assume the McCallisters did for a living? This house? There's mannequins in the basement.
I'm not sure, but they
He
seem
owns
to have. Go ahead.
He owns the Chicago Bulls, obviously.
Michael Jordan poster
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
cutout.
I never really gave that a thought, just because I didn't care enough about him,
Well,
about the father. I don't care how rich they are.
Well, it's not
Like-
just him. I think they both have jobs, but they're an extremely well-off family.
Yeah,
and so
that's
it's like, what did
yeah.
these people do?
Yeah, I don't know what they do, but they're presented as definitely an upper middle class family. I mean, they're on whatever flight they can get. No cost is too, she's going to get home to her kid, and certainly the home is beautiful. It seemed to be in a beautiful, nice, upscale neighborhood, and Macaulay, they got nice clothes. Everybody's got nice things. So I'm not sure what they do, but they're presented as definitely an upper middle class family for sure.
I'm sure he's probably like a lawyer or something boring like that.
Well, watching it this time, I did take note. I'm like, why are they showing us mannequins and stuff like that and like a sewing machine in the basement? So I kind of wondered if one of them worked like in clothing manufacturing or fashion or something. And then when I was looking through the trivia this morning, apparently Chris Columbus revealed in a 2024 interview with The Hollywood Reporter that in terms of conversations with the parents did for a living, they said Kate was a very successful fashion designer and that Peter could have, based on John Hughes' own experience, worked in advertising. But they didn't remember what the father did. So they think Kate was in fashion design.
Well, they all are because they all use the same house. It's the same. I think it's the same one in Uncle Buck. It's the same. I think it's the same one in Ferris Bueller. They're all very, very similar.
They're not the same houses, although they look very similar. This one is the biggest and the nicest. It's like a $6 million house now. Yeah.
I want one.
Yeah, right?
Statues in the front that that the pizza guy keeps knocking down.
I love it. Yes. So anyway, I guess that does track. That sort of explains some of the stuff in the basement. Did you guys ever think when they realize that Kevin is missing, they're like, oh crap, okay, they get to Paris, and they're scrambling for their plan. And the rest of the family they've agreed they're going to take, in 2 days' time, they're going to take a flight home. And she, as the mother, needs to busy herself getting home sooner. But wouldn't she have just been better off had she waited also?
Well, we find that out at the end.
Yeah.
Because they get there 20 minutes after she does.
Like
but
20
she
minutes,
didn't know
like
that.
20 seconds.
Yeah. But she didn't. But she didn't know that. She had to get home. Evan's shaking his head, so he's.
No, I mean, I agree with you. No. The frenetic. Look, she's the mom.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
She's going to be anxious, and she's going to do whatever she can. And when you're rushed, sometimes you don't make the best judgment. But I think that's common. That's common sense or common practice. So I understood her frenetic pace and jumping on the first possible thing, even if it's not the best option, on the hope of trying to get home to her son as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it does totally make sense. I think most mothers would do the same thing. It's interesting that they show, even in the same movie, that she could have just waited. But then we have to have John Candy. We wouldn't have met John Candy had she done that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Gus Polinski, Polka King of the Midwest, Sheboygan.
Well, I had a couple of hits in the 70s. No,
yeah,
you don't
polka,
know. You don't know
polka.
That's what that's what those guys played. The Schmingies. They were polka players. So yeah, it was a complete riff on that.
Whatever happened to laundry chutes in houses? It seemed like it was a thing in the 90s for a minute.
Never had one.
I didn't either.
Neither
but
did I.
Did you ever?
No, I feel like
nicer homes had them. Like a more expensive home in the early 90s had them.
Maybe one with where the washers like in the basement like that. That makes sense. My washers were not in the basement.
I didn't have I didn't have a basement, but a lot of homes in New York did. But we didn't have a basement. But yeah, chutes were more. I just feel like that was more like real fancy, like New York City apartments. You had laundry chutes. We had the dishonor of actually walking our dirty clothes.
We had moms.
We had hampers.
We had hampers. We had moms. Yeah. We had hampers and moms.
Throw your clothes in the hamper.
Take your clothes down yourself, down to or wherever your laundry room was.
But once I hit a certain age, I guess, but I don't remember.
No, we threw it in the hamper.
An only child friend of mine had one, and their house was very nice, and I always thought that was like so, like such a rich thing to do. But you don't see that in houses anymore, so I don't know.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's wild. Also, in this super quaint town, it's really cute. He goes to this drugstore, old timey. It has a gift shop in it, and he's trying to get a toothbrush. He ends up shoplifting it, and they literally send a policeman chasing after a kid, like an 8-year-old, over a toothbrush.
Well, damn it. If we're going to maintain law and order in this country, got to get them all. Got to start them, got to start young. But yeah, little mom and pop stores are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all, you'd be going into Walgreens and the alarm would be like, wham! Like whatever that stupid thing is that they have on razor blades that apparently are a big high commodity item that they have to lock behind a cage. So yeah, that's a little dated.
You just know, growing up though in New York though, that was a sign of the times. You had the local mom and pop. We had a couple of them, and a great place also for magazines. That's where you got your comics, wrestling magazines, and yes, a sign of the times. By the time I left New York, the CVS's, the Walgreens, they were all moving in and replacing the local mom and pop stores.
I particularly loved one of my favorite scenes still is kind of the prank that he pulls on the pizza kid. But in watching it last night, and it's like using the Angels Without Souls with the machine gun fire, this poor kid, and then he doesn't tip the kid but 20 cents.
Right. Keep the change.
Do you feel like I don't know, as an adult now watching it, I'm like, that was really screwed up, Kevin. That was not a cool thing to do. And I feel like now that kid would now call, the SWAT team would come to Kevin's house. Now, don't you think?
Perhaps.
Of course.
Yeah.
But that, again, different, we live in a much more paranoid culture now.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, we don't even let pizza go. They have to leave it at the door now. They can't even knock on the door anymore. I remember that scene getting a huge laughs in their theater. So if it's funny, it doesn't matter. That's the rule, I think.
Yeah.
Even
that pizza kid, he was good. Like he played his part well in this.
And then they pay it off later again when he uses the same footage for Harry and Marv. Mm-hmm. So it's not just there just to get a cheap laugh. It's there to actually serve what comes later. So, so it's really, as silly as it is well done.
It really is. I found myself, again, as an adult watching this with stupid questions. I'm like, where's he getting money to pay for these things? Because
steals it from Buzz.
He only had a couple bucks.
That is a good question, but I do remember.
Didn't he steal it? Didn't he go into Buzzard's and break into Buzzard's piggy bank or something?
Yeah, but there was only a few dollars in there.
Maybe mom and dad.
Family. We all knew where mom and dad kept their little secret stash.
Speak for yourself.
Well,
you have no ethics. He's out there passing judgment on everybody. Oh, horrible times. I didn't know Kevin definitely knew where the petty cash was, but you knew where I had no idea where my folks. My mom kept her
where the petty cash was.
Oh, you're so no wonder that one time I saw you with those 5 new episodes of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Yeah, right.
Those were train ride, man.
Yeah, those were $2 each. Come on.
Yeah.
We did not have petty cash, as far as I'm aware. But I think the McCallisters just stored extra cash somewhere that Kevin found.
I'm going to go with just he stole it all from Buzz. Because what did he mean? He went to the store
He went to the grocery store.
Well, that's more than a couple dollars.
Yeah.
He went to the
guy. I didn't notice how much he took out of Buzz's thing.
I think he spent over $20 at the grocery store, and he even used a coupon. Thank you. And he made small talk with the cashier, and she kind of looked at him whimsically like, this is not really a right thing. Like, I don't remember an 8-year-old going through the grocery line. But she went with it because he was very charming. He made small talk with her.
And she even picks up the bag of the little army guys, and she's like, what's with this? And he's like, for the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
It was less than $20. I made note of it. It was like 19 and change for a lot of groceries, including laundry detergent. all of that for less than $20. Boy,
No, it was 1990. It was
That's
1990.
Yeah.
Things have changed. Sure.
Why does he do laundry?
He's got to take care of the house. As you can see at the end, he basically has the place looking immaculate. Dishes are like, at some point, the party stops, and he's like, this is my house. I have to defend it, and I have to take care of it. I think that's part of the narrative. Like, that's why that whole scene is so effective in the end. She comes in, and the tree is all set up, and all that. I think that's all part of it.
I agree, and I think it's also a backhanded respect for what mom and dad, the structure that they provide him. I definitely agree with Andy. I'm defending my fort, but it's like I've grown to appreciate laundry and the house being clean, and we're going to set up for the holidays. Like, I come to appreciate those things that mom and dad, but really perhaps mom, provide for me.
Yeah, I think that goes to why he forgives her so easily.
Yeah, he does. We needed to see him rise to the occasion because, again, at the beginning, it's foreshadowed. Oh, you can't do anything for yourself. You can't even tie your shoes or pack your suitcase or whatever. And so we see him rise to the occasion by he's doing dishes. He's eating a well-balanced meal. He's doing the laundry and he's bathing. But when he was doing the laundry, I'm like, I'm pretty sure you have clean clothes. Like you didn't really need to do the laundry, but yeah.
But it also gives you the shave gel gag.
Yeah.
He's keeping clean, so he's got to do that thing. So that whole idea provides for so much. And then there's that little thing with the dad at the end. He's like, what a funny guy. Like he comes in and he realizes, I got the eggs, got the milk and fabric softener. That little punchy joke there. And it's all just like a little cherry on top. So it's details.
The details were good. Again, one of the things I didn't notice and that he chops down part of their tree in their actual yard for his little Christmas tree.
Yes, he does. Yep.
That's probably the most suspension of I can't even do that. Like, no way. Sorry. Never. That's why I almost forgot about that.
I kind of had, and then I was like, oh my God, that's like their landscaping that he's ruining, but also...
You couldn't even pick up the axe, man. Those things are heavy as hell. I can't even do the thing at the carnival to hit the bell on the top of the thing. He's going to chop down a tree? No way.
It was a handsaw.
I'm not buying it. Not buying it.
Well, a handsaw, even worse. That's like a butter knife. That would take somebody forever to cut a tree.
Exactly.
Do you guys have favorite pranks done to Harry and Marv through the whole ending sequence?
I'm trying to think of the one that made me laugh the most, and it was probably due to the reaction of Harry and Marv. And I have to say, when Harry opens the door and the flamethrower gets him in the head, and the look on his face cracks me up every single but then when Marv just something terrible happens and he gets that delayed scream, that Daniel Stern, he steps on the nails, and then the loud high pitched scream. So it's hard to put it down, but I'm gonna go with the blowtorch.
Good pick.
Yeah,
Evan?
The nail always gets me as well. So, and Stern's reaction, scream, high pitched scream.
But the great thing about the movie is that they're all funny. Every single one of them. Every pratfall is a big laugh. And I can't imagine what they left out. I bet there were ones that weren't as funny. I bet you they put them through a whole new level of hell.
Tons.
I would be interested.
There was a lot. The one, because they kept showing, you knew something was going to happen with the spider because they kept showing the tarantula, Buzz's tarantula that gets out.
Right.
And I was reading that the spider trainer or the handler or whatever. So they did that, I think, in one take because Daniel Stern, as I would be, I'm like, let's get this over with. I don't want any more spider being on me than need be. Well, apparently they were like, well, you can't make noise because that might freak the spider out and actually make him attack you. So the scene they do, he doesn't make noise. They add the scream in later.
Okay. That's a great way to do it. But yeah, he doesn't like the spider on him, not to mention the lug wrench that's going to come down on his chest. That's tough to fake there. So I could see that.
again, as an adult, there were so many things. We definitely needed Marley. We needed that church scene, especially now. Like, they have a whole on discussion about how families can be complicated and the dynamics and your relationships with families. Like, it was very realistic, and how sometimes that can be exacerbated during the holidays, but deep down you love them. And I just felt like that, especially like prescient in times right now. I think a lot of families are struggling, you know, with that. But then at no point does Marley ask Kevin why you, an 8-year-old, are home alone. He doesn't ever, like, did that not seem odd?
Well, because the movie needs to happen. You know, that we don't have time for questions like that.
But he comes to the rescue. So they could have, in the church, he could have said, hey, I'm holding off adult burglars on my own as an 8-year-old. Marley figures it out and it does come to the rescue. But I was like, why are you not asking this kid? You've seen him throughout town over the last 3 days, and you're not curious why he's home alone over Christmas.
Maybe he's got dementia. Maybe he doesn't realize. I don't know. It's one of those unanswerable questions that doesn't really matter. The answer is yes, of course you would think so. Just like everybody else who he's running to, the Santa asks him, or the person at the store asks him. The only one who doesn't ask him is the one who clearly knows that he's home alone. Mm-hmm. It's a little creepy, actually.
No, stop it.
Yeah,
they have an awkward relationship, almost antagonistic. And the church scene sets up that they actually get to know each other. And the old man gives the young child some wisdom, and the young child also delivers these, why have you tried calling your son? And, I love the payoff at the end when he looks out the window and he sees that the old man, is reunited with his son. That to me, that got me too. I was like a little choked up. So yeah, I mean, sure, believability, but they have an awkward, Kevin's afraid of him. He gives him a scowl. He stays away from him. It's the crazy man in the neighborhood. When they actually get to speak at the church, they sort of have a budding friendship, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Evan's point, like, all of that is so good and so believable and so perfect. We don't care that he doesn't ask us. We're too invested in what's going on. That kind of stuff doesn't even register.
Yeah.
I
agree. It's nuanced in a lot of ways, but they hit you over the head in other ways. I like the nuanced parts where at first he's like, sweet, I'm free. And then slowly over time, we see him, get more tenderhearted about his family, and then the big payoff at the end. So it was just expertly done, I thought.
Well, that's what happens when you have a silly idea given to the right people. Mm-hmm. And that's what we have here.
Did you want more Joe Pesci?
Didn't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect amount.
Agreed. Perfect fit. How they storyboarded scene one, it was just the right amount. I agree.
I think so too, which I think for Pesci, because he's so Pesci in everything, that you could almost be afraid it'd be too much. But he reined it in, and it was just his Marv. Wait, no, he's Harry.
He's Harry.
I get them confused. It was really, really well done. And I did read that he purposefully kind of avoided on set Macaulay Culkin. He wanted Macaulay Culkin to think he was mean, so that it seemed more realistic, that the scenes of them together. And he also said how impressed he was with Macaulay. So Joe Pesci is saying he's not like any other 9-year-old, or however old he was when, maybe he turned 10 at the time, but he's like an old man already. That's what Joe Pesci said about Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, he certainly carried himself like one. But what's interesting about both of their performances, meaning Pesci and Stern, is that they're the bad guys, but they're lovable. So we're not afraid of them, but we're afraid for Kevin. So they're still a little menace, and we're still rooting for Kevin, but we still love these guys. And that's such a hard thing to pull off, that it's almost like by the end, we don't want to see anybody get hurt, because everybody's just so much fun to watch. So that's just, again, that goes to my thing about what real professionals are able to do, and why they get paid so much, and why they're so sought after.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great example of that.
Agreed. Stern, when asked, he was talking about, again in an interview, because he had been in a few other things with Joe Pesci. And he said, one thing I love to tell people about Mr. Pesci is if you really want to know who he is, listen to his music. He is the most brilliant jazz singer, Stern tells People magazine. He's got this beautiful tenor voice. I mean, he makes me weep when he sings these kinds of Sinatra songs.
Well, he does have an album.
I didn't know that.
I've never heard it. It's not as Joe Pesci. It's as Vinny Gambini, from My Cousin Vinny.
Oh,
It's like Vinny Gambini sings the hits of Sinatra or something. I've never heard it, but it is out there. That's the only thing I know
I had
of
no
it.
idea. I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
The original script actually called for a post-credit scene of those two. So a calling card of John Hughes movies is that there's a lot of them have a post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't, but I guess it originally did. And it was with Marv and Harry in prison watching the movie, the fake movie that was made for this movie, Angels Without Filthy Souls, on TV, along with the other prisoners during Christmas. And when they hear the dialogue, that they figure out that that's what Kevin used to trick them. And they exchange knowing looks. I thought that would have been good. Why did they?
Would have been great. Would have been great.
Yeah.
That would have been great.
I'm going to disagree. Because it's not their movie. Like,
well, the post-credit scene usually isn't, though.
I know. You know what? You're right. Forget it.
And you've talked.
A nice secret bait. It's nice secret bait too.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's would have been. Yeah. And we know we've talked about You've talked about diminishing returns on a sequel, but that would have definitely been like, ooh, if I'm watching that even in '90, I'm like, perhaps we'll get something down the pike with these guys. That could have been fun. Short, it makes sense, kind of fits within the plot. It could have at least piqued my interest.
Just like them sitting there watching them, and like Pesci gives Stern this look, like this grimacing look, like you stupid jerk. I see it. Yeah, I can see it. You're right. I'm convinced.
And because I expect a post-credit scene from Hughes, that I waited all the way to the end because I couldn't remember. Yeah. Nope, there isn't one.
Even in The Great Outdoors, they have the raccoons at the
end. The raccoons,
yeah.
There's usually one. There's a few other bits of trivia that I want to pose to you guys. So there's a very small part. There's a man who plays Santa, and he's, at the little town square Santa shop. You'll never guess who auditioned to play that very small part. A very well-known comedian of the 90s. He is no longer with us.
Sam Kinison.
Ooh, that's a good guess. No.
The guy, because I was just going to say that the guy is like a rumpled Santa smoking a cigarette, kind of disorganized, kind of blows the kid off, but is a little sweet to him towards the end. That's an interesting.
Was the comedian's heyday in the 90s?
Yeah.
Nice.
Now consider, he wasn't famous yet. He's auditioning for this very small part.
Oh, Kevin McCallister? Obviously not.
No. Very famous. Very famous.
Oh, very famous. Oh, okay. Gilbert Gottfried.
No, but he auditioned for, I think, John Hurd's part. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Who?
Kevin.
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Chris Farley. All right. He probably would have stolen the movie. He probably would have overdone it.
Yeah, because it's a small role.
This guy was good.
It's not really a chance to sort of. It's a pretty straight up kind of scene. Don't know if there had been a chance to really.
But even that guy was a familiar face. Okay, he was on a TV show called Herman's Head that I recognized him from. He was that guy, and he ended up being in Armageddon a couple of years later. He was a pro, so it's like that's just another example of you got to have the right people doing all these things.
Oh yeah, Herman's Head.
Yeah, remember that? Come on, you remember that show?
I've heard of it.
Fox?
I don't think I've seen it.
Is that on Fox?
Yes. Yeah.
Coming up next after the NFL, Herman's Head. Followed by
after a current affair,
right?
Do you guys remember the actor who played the dad in Alf? You've seen Alf, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
Willie.
don't remember his name. I know he
Willie.
died recently, but he kind of had a voice like this,
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
little maid, little post nasal drip, but yeah, like that.
Max
I
Wright.
don't remember his name.
His name is Max Wright.
Okay. Yeah.
So Alf was in 1986. So that's kind of already run its course. This is 1990. Max Wright is offered the role to play any of the three, Peter, McCallister, Uncle Frank, or the Uncle Rob that we hardly see. There was a deleted scene with him in it. As well as Harry. He had the opportunity to play any of those, but he turned down all four roles. I don't know why. You would.
He would have been perfect Uncle Frank.
But like was he like a star still?
No, he was, but he was very familiar because he was a familiar face, and Alf was a huge hit, and he would have been good in that role because he would have given a whiny little.
He would have, yeah.
The guy who did it was fine, but this guy would have been just as good. I don't see him as the Peter role because you're right, Peter, and this guy is just not that likable.
Well, he's just like a dad. He played the dad.
Yeah, but I feel like John Hurd was the perfect person for the role.
I just thought it was interesting he turned them down. Like, why wouldn't he want to be in the movie?
It was
a great question.
He was swimming in that Alf money. I don't know.
I guess.
Well, think about what it looks like on paper. This looks like he had just done Alf for however many years. And he's probably trying to break out of the kiddie kind of like silly whatever. And on paper, this probably looks exactly like that. If you're reading the script, you're not seeing Catherine O'Hara. You're not seeing Joe Pesci. You're not seeing what it looks like. All you're seeing is a little kid beating the crap out of two older guys. So maybe he was looking at this. This is not I'm done with this kind of stuff. I want to go in a different direction. That could have been it. Nobody thought this movie was going to be a hit.
You're right. I guess I just thought a number of years had passed between the ending of Alf and this, and it seems like he wasn't really doing a whole lot. But I could be completely way off.
You
get a paycheck.
That's a good question. That's the only thing I can see.
So I hadn't put this together. It was pointed out to me when I was doing some research. There are 3 Johns associated with this movie: Candy, Hurd, and Hughes. All 3 have passed away. None of them are with us.
I think Candy went first, then Hughes, and Hurd just a few years ago.
I mean, clearly it's the dread curse.
That's a bummer.
I know.
Robert's Blossom is gone too, I think.
Who?
Robert's Blossom. Yeah, I think he's gone too.
I think so too. But his name wasn't John. On a more positive note.
Joe, 3 Johns. Oh,
yeah,
right.
3 Johns.
Okay.
Yeah, the 3 Johns. I actually think this would have been kind of good, but it didn't happen. It was rumored that there was an original draft of the screenplay where Uncle Frank was the real villain. And as the villain behind the villains, and that Harry and Marv worked for him, and that he hired them to rob the McCallister house and other houses in the neighborhood, and also to kill Kevin. That would have been maybe a bit too far. But what do you guys think of the possibility of Uncle Frank being kind of behind this?
No, that would literally take every meaning out of it.
Well, it would have been a different movie. It would have been a more adult-centric movie, maybe. But yeah.
That's a bit harsh.
No, I can't.
And the way that they explain it with Pesci early on masquerading as the cop, staking out the neighborhood, it gives you a little bit of a believable kind of feel for the criminal element. I think with the uncle and trying to kill it just too harsh for a family-centric kind of movie. I don't think it would have worked as well for me.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
I can see a version that is not, because I like darker, I like crime movies. I can see it working as more of an adult-centric movie. It would have been a different movie.
Katie, there's where you get your Die Hard comparison. There, you have almost like an over the top kind of action kind of thing with the uncle. But I do think opening up where you have Marv and he's role playing a cop and he's staking out the neighborhood, that could happen. I mean, you know that there's a criminal element that stakes out neighborhoods, so that lends a little bit more believability for me. I don't know how everybody else feels, but for me, I think it works the way they have it.
Yeah, I think that's too much. And Uncle Frank is disliked just enough.
Yes.
It's the perfect level of disdain. He's a jerk, but he's got nothing to do with anything. So,
I'm in agreement. I like the movie the way that it is. I think it's an extremely well done movie and a lot of care taken into it. Just reading about that, I was like, oh, that would have been an interesting take in a different direction. But I'm glad that it is the way that it is, because I really do think that Home Alone, I mean, clearly it's resonated and people watch it. It's like a must watch every year, right? It's blended the perfect elements that both children and adults want to come back to. It's got all the right pieces put together, and this was a win, in my opinion, for John Hughes. There are other times when he kind of throws puzzle pieces together and they don't quite fit. This is one where I think was a massive hit with audiences, but also at the box office. How would you like to close out the discussion about Home Alone? Final thoughts.
I'm still angry that it overtook Rocky, but it's everything you said is true. It is a holiday classic. It's a happy movie. It's just a movie that is going to be a crowd pleaser. Kids can watch it. Families can watch it. And it's just, it's just one of those movies that, you can pop on any point, watch it from any moment, and just get lost in it for a couple hours and enjoy and be happy and smile and laugh. And Macaulay Culkin is a revelation, as far as I'm concerned. But it's just a great study in how to make an unserious movie in the most serious way. So yeah, it's going to be around forever. So it's a classic, absolutely. And it keeps growing. It keeps getting better. Kids today know it. Okay? They don't know The Godfather. They don't know Shawshank. They don't know some of the greatest movies ever made, but they know Home Alone.
Well put.
So, yeah. Evan?
I mean, I think, as Andy said, how to make an unserious movie, pause, in a most serious way. I would say that this movie is certainly, it wears well. Like, I watched it. It doesn't feel overly timey. It's certainly a marker of time in the 90s, but it still plays really, really well. And everybody laid out all the great reasons. It took me back to a place when, in 90s, when going to the movies was fun. And it was a great experience. The whole experience has been degraded for a variety of reasons now in 2025, but it brought me back to a time where, and a lot of those trips to the theater when Andy grew, and we went and we'd punch ourselves in the shoulder and have a great time. And then it wasn't, and people know how to behave in the theater, and it wasn't overly expensive and all that great stuff, but loved watching it. And laid out all the reasons why it still holds up very well in 2025.
Which is hard to do. That's hard to do. So
agreed.
Good on you, Home Alone.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a timeless story. It's just a timeless story.
It really is. It really is. I loved some of the things. It has been said, well, if cell phones existed, a lot of the movies that we grew up with, the plot kind of goes away. Or you have to find
True.
This is a kind of an example. The phone lines weren't there, whatnot. But so I also, clearly I have this nostalgia for movies of the 80s and 90s, thus Retromade. So thank you guys for joining me this season on Retromade to cover Home Alone and to do some pop culture trivia from 1990. What can listeners, if they go check out Nothing Worthwhile, which you should all do, listeners, what do you got coming up next? Got anything cooking episode-wise?
You want to tell them what's coming up next week?
Yeah, let me sell the show, Andy. Let me sell the show. We're actually doing our 150th episode, and one of our core favorites, Bon Jovi, heading back on tour. We're going to do a Bon Jovi-centric discussion. We're going to discuss a retro album, Crush, their big comeback album in the early 2000s, and we'll do our week that was, all some fun stories, pop culture stories of the week, and we'll talk about Bon Jovi, Crush, and back in the news touring and some of the latest rumors around the tour and Richie Sambora and all that good stuff. That's our 150th episode. Bon Jovi, Crush.
Congratulations on 150 episodes, and look forward to that episode. Listeners, this is our wrap on Home Alone. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. If there's anything that you didn't notice in previous viewings, because I know you'll all be watching it this holiday season, so if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, review, or drop me a note to let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts, but until next time, be kind. Rewind.